So hopefully people can now hear me having a second try. Perhaps people could just let me know if you can hear what I'm saying, if it's coming through. I know some can get music and something was breaking up before, so if you can hear me, can you let me know? That'd be great. Excellent. Judging on the calls we've got everybody through. That's super. Good to know. Okay. Well, I'll tell you where we are. This webinar really stems from I did some presentations at various SAIF regional meetings from kind of Carlisle in the north to Essex in the south, and we talked about some of the issues facing small businesses, including ones like your own. Really, the forum membership is mainly private and family firms that employ people, and you all fit into that category. So I'll run through the little presentation that I have, and then at the end of that, I'll try and answer as many questions as I can. Hopefully I can answer them straight away. If there's anything that I can't, if I've got, because it'll be fairly general, if there's anything specific that I can't get back to you, we'll liaise through Angela. I'll make sure everybody gets an answer. If I can't answer straight away, I'll find a way of getting back to you. So hopefully that works for everybody. As you can see, the presentation was entitled "The Difficulties of Running a Small Business These Days," and I think most of you will find that there seems to be an awful lot of compliance issues you've got to deal with. We've had auto-enrolment on the pensions, we've had the living wage, the digital tax that's now being talked about coming in. Some of you may also have been affected by these GDPR rules, the new European rules on data protection, where it makes it very difficult for you to cold call people. You've got to be very careful about the data you hold and contacting people. So all of those things are impacting on us. Just really wanted to start off, hopefully you can see the second slide, just clarifying what SMEs are. We're all small businesses, yes, we're enterprises that employ fewer than 250 people, and you can see the kind of statistics there. But the reality is, we make up, the small business sector, make up 99.9% of all UK enterprises. A lot of focus is given to the big companies, but we're the real drivers in the economy, and sometimes our voice isn't heard as strongly as it should be, which is why it's good that you're members of SAIF, or potentially, hopefully, the forum as well. But we do need to get our voices heard, because there tends to be very much a one-size-fits-all view from the government. Just to bring that to life a little bit more, that shows the figures. In terms of employment and turnover, we make up, as it says, 99.9% of all the UK enterprises. We take care of the vast majority, a good 60% of all UK employment is with small businesses. Okay, in terms of turnover, the biggest businesses have got us, but we are a significant market sector, and I think sometimes the government need to remember that. The small business story is a very simple one. I'm sure you're all in the same boat, very similar to the way I was. We're business people, and usually we had a good idea and wanted to see if we could sell it. We had an idea and went out and tried it. You got into the business to make it work and see what happened. Small, well, there's some questions in there. Do governments use a one-size-fits-all approach to business? I think I've already said yes, they do. We make up, as I've said, 98%, 99.9% of all UK businesses. We're the wealth creators in the economy, something that we can be proud of. We all pay tax. You either take dividends and pay tax, net wages, pay tax, you pay staff, pay tax. We're the drivers of the money that keeps the economy going. Small businesses, we might be small in size, number of employees, but a lot of us are market leaders. A number of you will be the biggest operators in your county, in your region, in the geography. We're more involved in the whole business. A lot of you will be owner-operators. And we know the business from top to bottom, the accounts, the personnel, we kind of do the lot. We're jacks of all trade. We're also closer to our customers. We deal with them on a first-hand basis. We know our customers. We know what's going on. Do we understand the market better? I would strongly argue that we do. And another interesting one, do we behave better? The forum has something called a Hall of Shame, and I think I can honestly say that there isn't a single SME in it. There's lots of big companies that take in excess of 90 days to pay their suppliers, and that causes cash flow problems. The Philip Greens of this world, it tends to, for some reason, to be a lot of the big businesses who do sometimes take advantage of the smaller suppliers, but generally we behave pretty well. And that is significant, because one of the problems we've got is increased regulation. Well, regulation happens usually because somebody's behaved badly, and if we could get all business behaving probably in the same ethical, thoughtful manner that a lot of small businesses do, there wouldn't be as much need for regulation. We react to change better than big business. You will all have seen these arguments around Brexit. The cry consistently goes up, we need clarity. Well, yeah, we do, but change is inevitable in this day and age in business. We're all used to dealing and acting with change. The big businesses need the clarity because they've got a bigger organisation, more people, more structure, more things to deal with. From Brexit's point of view, I think a lot of us are saying, well, just give us an idea of the direction that we're going in and the impact on us, and we'll make it work. We might have voted in, we might have voted out, but it is what it is, and most small businesses are saying, right, let's, tell us what we need to do and we'll crack on. And we're the biggest sector of the UK economy, and I do think that they don't understand us as well as they should do. And at this time, particularly around things like Brexit, that's very important to make sure that our voice is heard. Issues for businesses. The next slide I'll put up. This was a survey that was done in 2016 looking at all businesses, not just forum members, but generally small businesses and what affected them. Increased competition, 49%. Regulation and red tape, 49%, it's a high one. Taxation, we still have the most complex tax system in the world. Late payment, a big deal, over a third of people saying that was a problem, and it is. The old profit is vanity, cash flow sanity. Well, sorry, turnover is vanity, profits sanity. Cash flow's reality. That's the bit that can really kill us. Those people paying us late, particularly if you've got big clients. And staff recruitment, getting people with the right skills. Workplace pensions was a big issue in 2016, depending on your staging date. People still struggling to get finance. We're finding that the banks aren't necessarily being as helpful as they could do. The alternative funding market is interesting, but there's not a lot of information around about it. Finding suitable premises, 10% said no major obstacles. We did a similar survey at the same time with our own members here in the forum. Their kind of key nine were remaining a profitable business and increasing the productivity against a background of increasing competition and rapid change. And that change piece comes into it. I was talking to some people at Manchester University the other day, and they're struggling. They've got students going on computer courses, learning a computer language, but the fact is, at the end of that 4 years, that computer language may well be redundant. Other one's taken over from it. So how do you deal with all this change in competition? Red tape and regulation, we've mentioned taxation going digital, that would still seem to be the intention. Pensions and the auto-enrolment. Finding time to proactively grow and develop your business. I'm sure that's common to many people. Succession planning and development of future managers and owners. Engaging, recruiting and training and retaining the next generation of staff. Finding the right finance. Extracting value from the business. People saying that, really my pension is my business. And getting to that stage at the end, how do I get the value from it? Preparing it for sale or passing on to somebody else. Opportunities for new markets, including export, against the background of Brexit. Okay, what are these other new markets, and do we have opportunities to trade with them? And building the marketing, engaging with the customers, utilising website and social media in particular. most people have got a website now, but using it to its very best, and also utilising social media in the right way. So all of those coming up as issues. We tried to look at some potential solutions to some of the problems that are out there and simple steps that people could make. One of them certainly, if change is inevitable and it's out there and we know that it's going on all the time, there tends to be that gap between where we are and where we want to be, and that impacts on any business. You know, you're sitting there as a funeral director, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and there's a gap. And it's thinking about how you're going to deal with that change and bridge that gap. So really the first thing we were saying to everybody is it's about a mindset. It's getting your head around the fact that, look, I do need to change, and you do need to develop and change the way I'm doing business. Should I be doing more social media? Could I advertise better? How do I get to new customers? Are there innovative new services that we can add on? You know, green funerals, different coffins, you know, all these kind of bits and pieces. The gentleman called Alvin Toffler, who's one of these futurists who looks at what goes on in the future, and he said in the 21st century the illiterate will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. If you're like me, you get to a certain age and you realise that the skills I learned at school and college aren't enough to get me through. I constantly need to learn new stuff. Usually, in my case, it's around technology because I can't keep up with it all. There's better than me in here that can. Charles Darwin, the old quote about survival of the fittest, you know, the biggest, the strongest, wasn't actually what Charles Darwin meant. He talked about survival of the fit, those who could actually fit into the changing environment. So we've got a changing business environment. First step is recognising that you need to keep up to speed with things and maybe doing things differently, trying new things. So that was stage one, thinking about how you're going to do things. The next one was talking about surrounding yourself with a great team. No matter how big or small you are, in this day and age, you need a good team around you. You know, so what's your board of people? Who are the people that you're going to work with to help you deal with changes and challenges you face? Your staff, obviously, and the team around you, maybe your partner in the business, your accountant, your bookkeeper, is it your solicitor, joining a good business support association or organisation, universities and colleges. There's many universities and colleges out there that have these business hubs that will help small businesses, quite often with courses and access to information and resources, and usually it's free. We took a number of our staff here on a social media course, how to use more social media at East Cheshire College, and we didn't have to pay anything for it. It's a full-day course. They've got these subsidised courses. Maybe you've got a mentor. Do you involve your suppliers and clients? So there's a whole thing about, first of all, realising you need to change, then surrounding yourself with a great team that enables you to actually do that. This one seems fairly, you know, shameless plug, but join a good business support organisation. You've already done that in that you've joined SAIF. You know, the forum or another one, we deal very generally with all the areas of compliance, employment issues, health and safety. But we know that forum members on average spend on external support is about £630. Non-members pay £3,952. Because it's included within your membership, the costs of fighting tribunals and what have you. Forum members spend 27% less time on health and safety issues than non-members, and they spend considerably less than the average company spend of £6,570 on tax investigations. You know, they seem to be going up with small businesses. We help members with that, and we cover the costs of it with our insurance. But you know, whether it's the forum or another one, there are a lot of good business organisations out there. Join them. They're a good part of the support mechanism, and as I say, you've already done that with SAIF. The next one is really about training you and your people. I said about learning different skills yourself, what you can do. But asking, you know, what are the opportunities and threats around your business. Asking great questions, saying, yeah, that's interesting, that's a change, what can we do about it? We take the staff out from here out on these kind of away days where we just look and think about challenges that are facing our members and what we can do to help them. So that whole thing about who, what, why, when, where and how, what's going on, future blue sky thinking, what could impact on my business in 12 months' time or in 5 or 6 months' time in the funeral business. I know some of that was already done, talks about Golden Charter and getting the prepaid funeral plans in to guarantee the business, but it's the more things like that that can be being done. Making sure you've got the right people in your team, the right people there to support you. If you're an organisation of a size, funeral director, do you need somebody that maybe comes in a couple of days a week and does the social media and gets the messaging out there? Training that workforce, making sure you've got the right resources, looking at best practice, looking at other organisations, not necessarily only in the funeral business, but elsewhere. What can you learn from them? And building up in your organisation, we've got a little library of DVDs, CDs, internet stuff, the universities we work with, training companies, all about having the resources there to make sure your team are the very best that's out there, that they're dealing with your clients in the right way, they can deal with any issues that are coming up. Big part of what we do. Training it isn't a case of going to school, going to college and going out there. Training's a constant now to keep up in the marketplace. Advocacy is something we do. I hate to use the word lobbying, but be proud to be a business person. 99.9% of the economy, we're the drivers. We should be proud of what we do. And quite often we don't. We're painted as the bad bunch. Well, we're not, and we're driving the economy. Get involved. This idea, you either make it happen or let it happen to you. If you've got stories, issues about things that are getting in the way of you doing business, I'm sure if you let SAIF know, certainly let us know, making sure that your voice is heard where it counts, that we get silly blockages out of the way. Most of certainly our small business members only want a couple of things really. They say, make it simple for me to do business and give me a level playing field to operate on. And I think if we manage to do that, then we're doing very well, and we can help certainly in getting your voice heard, and I know SAIF are working with us to do that. So give us feedback on what's working, what doesn't, how can we make things better. It's a two-way street. Where the members need to input as well as the organisation. And then the summary. Well, what have I said there? Hopefully in not too long a time. Change is inevitable. It's rapid. You can't fight against. It's like King Canute, sitting there telling the waves to go back. Change is going to keep happening. Change the business, regulation, different things going on, the way we do business, digital economy. Who'd have thought, we'd have the likes of Uber coming in, and Airbnb, things, they're all new to us. The business market has changed rapidly in recent years. So thinking about how you're going to react to it, and if you are in a positive frame of mind, surround yourself with a great team, look at training and developing those people and yourself. And that idea of advocacy, government needs to hear our voice. We are a very important part of the economy. Sometimes we don't get the voice, they don't listen to us. Well, we need to make sure that they do, that we're making good points, and that we get that simplicity of doing business and a level playing field. So that really is the presentation, which I hope you found useful and interesting. As I say, I'll certainly answer. I think we can do the chat. If anybody's got any specific questions, please ask them now. As I say, I'll try and answer them here and now in this format. If there is anything that I can't answer, then I promise I will get an answer and get it back to Angela for distribution at a later stage. So the floor is yours. If there's any questions, quite happy to try and answer them. Thanks a lot. If there's any. Thinking. Okay, that's fine. Well, I've got a cup of tea, so you'll pardon me if I take a sip of that while I'm waiting, and if there is anything, please do let me know. Okay. I've got one here. Are there any pointers as to where the market could be heading or changing in the next 12 to 24 months? Obviously, there's a couple of things in there that I can think of to answer the question. Nobody's quite sure where Brexit's going to end up, and I don't think we're going to get an answer to that. Some idea on the direction they're going in would be useful. I don't think we're going to get specifics, but I think everybody's pretty much agreed that whatever the outcome, we will probably, we'll make it work. Whether you vote for it or not, we'll make it work. But I think we are in for a couple of years of fairly turbulent times, and I think that's going to impact on everybody a little bit. In terms of, there's two things around small businesses that I can think of specifically. One is digital tax is going to be coming into place. It's already coming in around VAT. The tax man are bringing that along a little bit more slowly, but you will be required at some point to do all your tax digitally. There's a lot of communication going out at the moment that says you'll be asked to do quarterly tax returns. Please don't react to that, because if that isn't the case at the moment, what HMRC have said is that you will need some kind of quarterly report, but they haven't decided what that is yet, and it might be quite simple to do. The other one is GDPR, which is coming in, which is this whole thing about protection of data and the customer data that you're sitting on and how you use it. And I think we'll know what's happening with that in the next couple of weeks, quite literally. So there's hopefully a bit of an answer to that. Then I've got another one from Caroline, as mentioned. Slashing funeral plan prices by the likes of Dignity and the Co-op. Yeah, that's come up at a couple of the regional meetings. Obviously, I'm not an expert on this, but I would say we looked at offering Golden Charter plans to our members as a means of rewarding staff. You do pensions, you do health plans. For me, the real difference in Golden Charter was the quality of your offering, the choice, and I really do think that that's where, and this is a personal view, I don't know your industry that well, but from my point of view, Golden Charter should really be marketing the quality of what they do, the choice, the way you're going to look after people. Because after all, if I'm looking after my mum or whoever the deceased is, price isn't going to be the key thing. It's going to be making sure that it's done right. So that's just a personal opinion. As I say, I'm not really part of your sector. Unforeseen circumstances for the funeral sector. Trying to see what be specifically. No, I don't think there are. As I say, apart from GDPR, which is a European thing, whether that's brought in or not, but you will have to make sure, if you're holding records on all of your customers, clients, you will have to make sure they're protected accordingly. Otherwise, if that goes wrong, somebody hacks into it, you lose data, you are liable. So that's certainly one that is worth looking at. Edward's asked about direct cremation. Oh, that's an interesting one. I suppose, yeah, this is opening up for the rest of the forum, really. So let me read what Edward's put. The big change we're seeing in our industry is the increasing choice of direct cremation. Do the others attending see this as a short-term blip, or is the funeral business changing permanently? So I don't know if any of you would like to come back in with that. If you would, then I'll quite happily pass that on. Seems so far, yeah, it looks like people are agreeing with that. My guess would be that it would be a permanent thing. I think the way technology is going, I think it's going to impact on every business, and I think it will impact on the funeral business as well. But you, so I'm just going to read some of the feedback that's coming through on those. Good point, and there's a comment here that it is cheapening the industry. Another one agreeing with you. Yeah, that's what sets you guys apart is the service delivery, continuity of care of the deceased relatives from the first call to the day of the funeral. I would agree with that wholeheartedly, and I think it probably mirrors what I'd said about Golden Charter. Does the data protection apply for hard copy? No, it applies to any data you are holding. So in the old days, it was kind of, you know, anything from visitors' books to restaurants and all the rest of it. Data protection is anything including electronic records and how that's used. And what it means is that if there was a breach in the past and data was lost, to your knowledge, you only had to report it if you were a regulated industry like a bank. Now, every business has to report any breaches, and you are also liable to fines that are a lot heavier. The fines at the top end against the big boys like Google means that the fines down at the lower end are quite heavy as well. What I would suggest is, if you're concerned about this, products like Cyber AMI are available. We've got one that comes with our membership, but it's a means of protecting yourself. And what it'll do is it'll protect you for about 80% of problems with data. 80% of what happens is either a disgruntled employee taking data or a third party. The other 20% is criminal activity. So there are ways of protecting yourself, and there are ways of keeping records of that. So if anybody looks at it, they can see that you've taken the maximum precautions that you possibly could. So I would suggest that it's probably something that you all need to take a look at. Yeah, a lot of people saying, again, about these direct cremations, yeah, the overheads, and it's a key part of the business model. Edward made the point that last year 4.5% of funerals were direct cremations. This year it's 7%. If it got to 25%, not be able to exist in the current form. And there's comments about how do you compete. Yeah, look, Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling down. Yeah, everybody seems to say it's here to stay, and industry standards. My background's marketing, basically, sales and marketing. I joined, and it was in the drinks trade, but I'd like to, from that side of things, I know a little bit what I'm talking about. We talk about the USPs and the differences about business and what makes you special. In everything that I've seen in my dealings with, say, funeral directors, it's the quality, it's the care, it's the dedication. You're not going to cut corners, you're going to do it right. That's why I say what I say about Golden Charter, and I'm not trying to blow sunshine where it isn't deserved. You guys are damn good at what you do. You need to be pushing that. That needs to be advertised, that needs to be pushed. Don't go down the cheap route. That will just, all you end up is getting in competition with those other guys, and that's just a downward spiral. I'd stand apart. I really would go for the quality side of things. I'd shout it from the rooftops. I'd look at getting marketing and information out that says that you're different, and this is why. And I think that's the future. As I say, that's just my opinion, but I really do think you're very, very good at what you do, and people need to be looking for, safe funeral directors as the people to go to. So that's definitely where I'd go with it. Funnily enough, that's just been highlighted. Somebody else on the chat line has reinforced that point. You are different, and that is your main point of difference. And I think you should be. You definitely should be shouting about it. The other thing that's interesting, now you talked about standards. There's nothing to stop, say, funeral directors writing their own standards, saying this is what you should expect. When somebody's deceased, this is what you should be looking for. Here's the bare minimum. This is the good stuff. This is what you should be looking for from your funeral director, and set your own standards and get them out there. So this is what people should be looking for. If nobody else is putting them out there, you put them out there. I'm sure the organisation would be up for doing that, and I'd certainly help them. Yeah, there's a comment in there about social media is hard to crack properly. I would agree with that. Two things I'll say then. Actually, three things I'll say thinking about it. The first one is I don't understand it. I really don't in my organisation, but I know it's important, so I got people in who do understand it to do it for me. And there are social media people out there that will help you with your social media. There are consultants a couple of days a week, and it really isn't that expensive. So it's interesting to look at it from that point of view. If you were really interested, there's a book out there that I read which really helped me a couple of Christmases ago. Easy to remember, it's called Jab, 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 Right Hook, and it's by an American guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. And he talks about all the different types of social media, what they were designed to do, so Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all of those. So he differentiates them, and then he gives good examples of social media on them and bad examples of social media on it. I found that book really helped me. The other one is, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again. Have a look at your local further education colleges and some of the metropolitan universities. A lot of them have courses, and a lot of them, if you attend the courses, they are free or very cheap. So those three things may help you with your social media. A comment about funeral directors and price wars. Again, that to me isn't the route that you should go. Golden Charter should be the gold standard, setting that and safe funeral directors as well. It should be all about quality at the top end, and remove yourselves from that price idea. Co-op will take you to the cleaners on that anyway. They've got more resources and more people, but why would you want to compete there? For me, I think that's the way to go. It looks like that is the end of the thread of conversation. So I don't know if anybody has got any other questions. Please fire them through. If somebody's typing now. The other thing I'd say is just while looking at what's coming through, if any of you do have any questions, anything you think of after this chat, by all means, if you email me here at the forum, you'll find it on the website. You can always communicate with me direct here. Happy to answer any questions. So if there is anything, please don't hesitate to fire something straight through to me at the forum. And I'll answer them whenever I get anything through. Right. All right. Let's have a look. I've got a couple of questions on. Yeah, there's this comment that the carpenter units are often more expensive. I mean, that's terrible, because I would imagine the service. One thing towards the Golden Charter, and I think I've got it right. That they said, I think I can pick the funeral director. So if I've got my auntie's funeral and it was a SAIF funeral director and I'm on a funeral plan, I can say that I want you to conduct the funeral. They can't. It's that kind of quality thing that I'd focus on. Yeah, hopefully that's been useful. And I've had a few thanks. Well, thank you all very much for taking part. As I say, hopefully it's been useful. And please do remember what I said. You can email me here at the forum. So if there is anything, please do fire it through, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you all very much indeed. If that's okay, we'll call it a day. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye, everybody. Cheers. And then end event.